So, level ups are done. Let's continue the adventure. Scrolling down. Going back to town, you go ahead and rest and recover. Odds are you gather inside the town within the city called the Tooth and Hookah. We're gonna spend a few nights in town. We want to recover Big Green up to his full con score, even with care given to him. It's gonna take 5 days to recover. We're gonna spend 5 days until we can get Big Green. You recover at a point of 1 per stat per day. So we'll spend this time doing this. There seems to be a meeting of exploration teams. As we're spending our downtime during the first day of our meeting, it seems like a bunch of people have come back from their various expeditions and are interested in gathering together and seeing what's going on, are boasting of tales, telling things. We can encounter a bunch of other various groups. Speaking through, we can go to various locations. Sorry, as I said before, I haven't read through this book just to avoid any spoilers as best I can, because I'm both playing and running. So I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time reading through as we're going. A lot of various adventuring parties have made their way around. First up, we can speak with the Crypt Finders. Seems to hail from all over the Inner Sea region. Chalice Cavalier, Nexian Summoner, a Kadiran Cleric of Sarenrae, and their leader, Falto. A Brave from the streets of Absalom. I, as a player, can recognize that. Let me go ahead and give you a brief description. Chalice is the nation of Chilaxia. They are devil worshippers, a lawful evil, worship devils. They're big. They have strong British Empire inspiration. If the British Empire were a bunch of devil worshippers, they colonize everyone. They believe themselves superior in that way. They enjoy a good bit of slavery. Maybe that is. So it's a big overarching tyrannical empire that worships devils. No big deal there. Next up, we have a Nexian summoner. The nation of Nex is... Oh, it's a magic... founded by a magical man. It actively opposes a undead nation just because the two rulers hated each other in life. A little less note about that one. Kadira is another desert nation. It's across the sea, I believe, or across the Inner Sea. Next up, we have Absalom. It is an island nation in the middle of the Inner Sea, the biggest city in the world, according to some, according to me as well, because it's supposed to be, where the Pathfinder Society is based. It's basically a giant trade region, has people from all walks of life there. Big trade hub. No big deal. So, they claim... Folto will speak about his story. A very, very wonderful endeavor here. A great wealth we had. An important government official that we had to go and explore the tombs of. However, don't know what kept him around. Seems like maybe he was betrayed, possibly. Maybe he was some sort of unfortunate event brought about his downfall, because he did not move on, as one may suspect. Instead, he was brought back to life as a mummy, left to roam his tomb. Unfortunately for us, we were the first one to encounter him. Luckily, however, we were very easily able to deal with this encounter. I've dealt with a mummy or two in my day. It's not all too difficult. You just kind of stab them in the eye sockets. That's usually where we're able to see through all their wrappings. A very vulnerable area to them. No big deal for our party. Great wealth, of course, hidden behind this sort of thing. Might be also what kept him to life. Maybe he was of the greedy sort. Hard to say. But even our Saradite over here, hasty undead, of course we had to put the poor soul to rest. Give a few prayers to send him beyond. Treated the body as best we could. We are going to go ahead and get a sense motive check on that, because that sounds like a load of hogwash to me. Damu, are you trained in sense motive? You are not. But even you are easily able to tell. Guy's probably boasting a little bit too much. This whole mummy story might not have a whole lot to it. Could have explored the ancient official, but might be embellishing a little bit. Next up, the Daughters of the Desert. An all-female adventuring party led by Sigrun Firehair, an Ulfin of the Lenormand Kingdoms. Supposedly descended from a genie. Land of the Lenormand Kings is an area up towards the north, not quite at the polar caps, but again, strong Nordic inspiration, a land of frost and ice. The Lenormand Kings are ruled by a set of kings. The only way to become a king in the Lenormand Kingdom is to kill a Lenormand, a special kind of dragon. Uh, it is a worm, as in WYRM, the long, stringy boys, somewhat a little bit similar appearance to kind of the Eastern dragons in that they have claws and a big mouth but no wings, and they're a big, long noodle boy. You kill Lenormand, survive its death curse. Sorry, there's death curses for Lenormand. Spoiler alert, not really. That's what they're known for. And bring back its head. Lo and behold, you're a Lenormand king, and you can rule over a region, and you're highly respected. A very... They treat survivalism and strength to be kind of very important because it's rough living up there. Next, you have an exiled Rahadumi cleric of Iomade, a barbarian from one of the nomadic clans of Thuvia, and two Osiriani witches. Twin sisters that always wear a veil. Sigrun traveled south, seeking adventure, hoping to pen an epic tale or exploits to bring back north. The daughters were assigned to a house of a wealthy promboker to explore. Found several traps, a little else in the way of opposition. Didn't talk much, however, about what they found in the tomb, but love hearing tales of others, so probably a little bit of exploration to be had. Next up is the Dog Soldiers. Membership is composed entirely of halflings and their pack of trained Katapeshi fighting dogs. Yes, halflings in this setting, and even a lot of other settings, go around riding dogs. Sometimes you'll see them riding corgis, because that's hilarious. They're led by... Oh my goodness. By a man named Mad Dog Martin. Sorry, there was a word I just didn't want to talk about. They were sent to explore an abandoned tannery. However, they seem to be quite sad, as half of their dogs died fighting a gelatinous cube they found within. Broken up over the loss of several of his favorite pets, but proudly shows off the magical sword he salvaged from the cube after slaying it. Interested in particularly finding a buyer for the sword, purchasing replacement dogs from a respected breeder. Okay, well, sad day for him. I wonder what magical sword he has. Presumably it is... I have no idea. Presumably it's something. I assume they leave it kind of open-ended because it allows the party to, or you to specialize it for based off what your party might want. So, for example, if Shari was using like a long swords, you could have it be like a magical +1 longsword. The party could look into purchasing it. Maybe at a discount, probably not at a discount because you shouldn't do that. But this would be one of the few opportunities I maybe let them roleplay to try and get a discount in this circumstance. Not a whole lot because it's kind of rude to rip off this guy when he's grieving, trying to overcome the loss. Maybe Tessa is willing to do this, but for the most part, the rest of our guys are good aligned or near enough to it. They wouldn't try and screw this guy over. But some argument along the lines of, we're looking for that sword. It seems to be in decent repair, magical, as you said. We would have to identify it, of course, just to make sure he is speaking the truth. But you can spend a few days going around looking for someone who's willing to buy this magical artifact, or we'll offer you a little bit less money, and we'll purchase from you right here. Assuming, of course, we've already sold off all our valuables, which we should have by this point in time. Probably spent the day going around before we actually head here. Alright, cleaning off my Computer monitor. Apparently it got a bunch of dust over the evening. But uh give them maybe a 5% discount would make sense along these lines. And allow the guy to purchase some new dogs. Maybe, considering that we have some knowledge of the region, we could trade some knowledge of that as well. Knowledge of a respectable breed since we've lived here for some period of time. That could be worth it. That could make sense in that circumstance. And a good role-play encounter. Next up is the Sand Scorpions. Party contain a number of roguish sorts, along with a magus for magical support. Each rogue seems to specialize in a different area of expertise. Their leader is a mysterious one called the Black Kiss. Apparently, they're not volunteering much information. However, you can press them, and they'll talk about their first site they went to, a perfume and incense shop. Seem to have got themselves embroiled in a turf war of some sort between rival gangs of ghouls. They were able to retreat, but not before two of their members were paralyzed by the ghouls. They're looking to continue their exploration, hoping to uncover some sort of long-lost artifacts. Oh, without a cleric in their group, they're very worried about encountering more of the undead. Might be worth it. Again, extending the adventure if the party was looking to... if you wanted to include more adventures, maybe you have... or we would volunteer to go with them to deal with that. Or possibly you put the Crypt Finders. They have a cleric of Sarenrae who may take great offense to the... basically allow your party to go, which is beyond the scope of the adventure, or maybe you could help connect some parties together. Crypt Finders have kind of already explored their area. The Sand Scorpions seem to be looking for someone to help deal with the ghouls. Cleric of Sarenrae hates undead, so this might be a match made in heaven. Basically help them divide up the loot, act as an intermediary to maybe negotiate a little bit. Could be some fun things to do. Hold on, I'm trying to zoom in here. Give this person maxed out HP. Are these HP scores right, Cypress? You seem a bit low on the old HP total there. Not refreshed properly. There we go. Okay. Agamu's the one who's always going to have HP problems. Because he is not getting near as much as everybody else is. He's running off just straight class levels. But it should be fine. Not the end of the world. And finally, there's another group that is here. I can go ahead and give a small picture of them. Apparently the leader. Question is, can I just click that? No, apparently not. Let's go ahead and slide over here. Person you're talking to. Suffice to say, there is clothing. It's a little bit cut off there. Let me go ahead and try this again. Snipping tool. There we go. Now you see she's very well dressed. Adventuring hat, of course. Looks like kind of the person you'd expect to see in this sort of situation. This kind of 80s style dungeon exploration. Her name is Velrina Hypaxes. Part of the Scorched Hand. She's a Taldan Osirionologist. Group is dedicated to the pursuit and acquisition of knowledge. With the exception, of course, of a hired mercenary called Idori. The party members are all devout followers of Nethys. Of course, that is where they take their name, the Scorched Hand. Nethys being a man of a god of duality, as I've said before. Half his body is considered to be quite badly burned. However, it does not interfere with him in any way, with the other half being his normal, reasonably attractive self. The Scorched Hand representing his more destructive side, his side that is infused with the power of raw magic. They seem to all be Osirian natives. Azaz Aref and Kulru are the other ones, rounding out the group of 4. quite vocal in her disapproval of the Grand Mausoleum's refusal to assign specific groups to groups that were requested them. In the Scorched Hand was denied a petition to explore a sacred site related to members of its faith. Once instead allocated what turned out to be an ancient brothel. The group easily dispatched whatever the various zombies were in the basement. Only a few minor treasures were able to be recovered. They apparently very disappointed with their first foray. And does make the effort of asking the party members and everyone else present if they learned of any ancient temples or shrine that have been assigned. Or they're looking for something called the Eurodite Eye. Of course, we have no idea what that means. We were assigned a sanctum, or we were assigned nothing of that sort, simply a military general's tomb. But a little bit of talk. Seems like they're not all that interested in where they have ended up encountering. Beyond that, it gives the party a good opportunity to roleplay and speak about their encounters. It is probably going to be a Gamu who speaks about it, since his tale happens to be the best. Actually, did someone have perform oratory? I'm 90% sure someone's trained in that. Atis, possibly? Yep, Atis is skilled at it. Quite good at it, too, plus 10. So she'd probably tell the adventuring tales. Considering she's also trained in bluff, she's makes a good storyteller. About the exploration of the tomb we would go into. It seemed to be a very simple affair at the beginning. A small little structure, open some doors, go inside. However, beyond the massive stone doors that seemed to be guarding the tomb itself, closing in on anyone who came inside, you must descend down into the subterranean depths. Of course, some basic vermin had strolled in the front. No issue for our party. Simply made our way through the door. The early levels, of course, guarded by various traps, so pressure plates and wall traps and spring traps of all sorts, seeming to contain the valuables of what remained. Devotion to the gods, very obvious within this tomb, both the old and the new. Respect to all sorts means a learned individual, we suspect. A man of renown, Akentepe was his name. A military general of centuries past, worked his way up from no lesser ranks after losing his family, eventually becoming a incredibly respected general of the city of Wati before the fall. Also wealthy enough to employ all sorts of constructs and magical defenses, traps, constructs, and luckily very few undead for us. Luckily or unluckily, as we're well suited for fighting them. All sorts of treasure related to this man, things he had in life, mostly some books, some records, mostly a lot of knickknacks, though, of various metal sorts. Thing we will note is tell the story of the main metal too. Maybe we talk. Well, no. We can talk about how the trap was there, would have spewed water into the main room, trying to drown and shock any people who came inside. We can talk about how the tomb had been invaded by subterranean outsiders, elementals. Talking about the various things we encountered, including his magical armor, which we are looking to sell. But just kind of embellish the story as much as your players want. Again, this is kind of your chance to see how much your players enjoy this sort of roleplay. Every party consists of different amount of people. Some enjoy the storytelling, just talking kind of not worthlessly to people, but getting immersed in their characters and exploring the world. Some players, they don't find enjoyment in that. Some players just like role in combat. They'll kind of sit in the background, not take a whole lot of opportunity to talk. But the thing is to find a balance. If 3 of your players like speaking and 1 player doesn't, you can try and entice them in the roleplay, kind of ask them questions, see if they have anything to add, kind of get them involved in the story. If one person enjoys roleplay and the rest don't, give them an opportunity to talk, give them an opportunity to give a speech, but don't kind of push it to the forefront too much or too often. It's finding the right balance. Make sure everybody's involved, everybody gets a chance to say something without anybody feeling excluded. Just try and find that right balance. This is a good opportunity for you to find that early on. Of course, once we are finished with this, we have an opportunity to go pick up our details of our next exploration site from the priests at the Grand Mausoleum. The second site, heading over, seems to be a two-story mansion surrounded with surrounding grounds. Believed to be some sort of minor noble house. We're given a sketch map, of course, telling the site's location before we head there. A quick read through, give me a second. Blah, 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 blah. The ceilings, unless otherwise noted, the ceilings are 10 foot high and the doors are made of stone. Small windows in the exterior provide normal light into the room's houses. Underground rooms are dark, unless we'll learn about that later. But we do now have some new maps we can go ahead and do. So once again, we go up here, we click. One thing to note is you can drag. This is how you drag the players from one map to the next, is you click and you move them over. It allows all the players to go there. You can also, if you click and drag a name down here, and then bring them to a map, it'll bring just them over to a new map. However, keep in mind, initiative tracker doesn't track, or tracks. Players will only see things in the initiative tracker on their initiative, unless you're the GM. So, having maps that go between multiple rooms are rough. So try to avoid that if at all possible. Beyond that, let's go ahead and just add a new map. Add page. What is the size of this page? Because I think we're roughly on a similar size map. So this is a 40 by 26, so we'll do 42 by 30. 43 by 30. Pathfinder corners, I don't like applying that. Over here. Now, next up, if you go here, you can scroll down, you can click Archive Page. Just to bring it all into the archive. You can click and restore them at any point in time. Let's go ahead and rename this. Kentucky's Tomb. And we go ahead and archive that. You'll see an archive. You can restore it at any point. But for the most part, pages that you are done with and not going to be using for going forward is you can just get rid of. Next, we'll go House of. As we're going to be going next. Go here. We then scroll out a little bit. Let's go scroll out a little bit less. Okay, we go to our map layer. Once again, open up the 1 second. I need to paste that opens up on the incorrect page. Okay, it didn't. We can open the color source. Pull open the maps. We scroll down. Okay, our quick scroll again. Here we go. Okay, this is going to be multiple maps in one. So let's go ahead and do some quick snipping. House of in what was it called? Theru. F1. Quickly make sure we're not missing any. Okay, no, we're good. This is a multi-story affair. Luckily, you can put all of them on one map. I'm going to go ahead and make them all on separate maps because it doesn't look like they line up quite nicely. So we do House of 1. And finally, House Theru. Okay, let's go ahead and save all that. Now then, once again, I will show you. I'm probably going to show you this will be the last time I show how maps are made. Probably go between sessions going forward and create the maps, or not create the maps depending on how important we are or how worried I am about it. Let's probably a little bit less wide. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit and scroll over. If we can get it lined up just perfectly, that is looking quite good. No, it's not. Big. Go ahead and make the opacity of this. Let's go ahead and make it black. A little bit easier to see the grid there. No. Okay. This map is not being cooperative. Let's go ahead and first off line this up appropriately to the grid. So that means the top left corner is perfectly aligned to grid. Over here, try and find where this lines up properly. There we go. Okay. Go ahead and bring it down a little bit. No, leaving it up there is fine. Okay, so that is that grid dealt with. The problem I was having is it wasn't lined up appropriately there, so I wasn't able to easily find the next applicable thing. So, let's go ahead and then lower the opacity of that. Doesn't need to be near as dark now that I've figured out exactly where it is. Maybe a little bit more dark. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring the width in a fair amount. But I do need to increase the height a fair amount as well. Do note the bigger the page, the more issues you may have when trying to load or move things. Some maps can get ridiculously big and cause issues. Then get you scaled up a little bit. Okay, first off, again, we need to darken the opacity. Realize now that okay. Go to there. Hold the Alt key, however. Make this go perfectly. Then we close that. Go right. Continue to upsize this until it looks right. Is right about there. Line it up a little bit better. But we now need, what, 6 more height to the page? That's taken care of. Probably should be 7, actually, because we need to slide this down. Down a little bit that way. There we go. Get one more height. And finally, we have the last page. It's just a slow affair. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but eventually making maps becomes kind of second nature. Okay. Recognize that we overdid it a little bit. And there we go. It's about as good as we're going to get. Okay, it can be 3 less wide. And that is going to be our map here. So, we got first floor, basement floor, second floor. I would again separate all these regions as appropriate. You can use your various lighting tools as you see fit. But again, as players, as a GM player, I am not all too concerned because you're going to see everything because I haven't set up a special viewing map. Because I just haven't. I could actually. No, because then you wouldn't see everything I'm doing from the player's point of view. But if you're planning to run this as a GM, or you're planning to run or stream this as a GM running for multiple people, or as a player being run for multiple people. You can either store it from your perspective, or what I would recommend, getting a second account, adding it to the game, giving access to view all of the tokens. That will allow you to see things from the player perspective. You do need to move it around the map. You can kind of shift click as you see fit. That'll automatically pull every... Oh, let's undo that. Back to the token layer. You can shift click. Will focus the players on where you ping. So it allows you to drag the viewpoint of the player cam around as appropriate. But that is how I would do it. Makes things nice and easy. So, stepping up outside the front gate, let me go ahead and take a quick snip of the area we're going to be exploring. One score equals 5 feet. Do one of these. Find it as can. Okay. We start ourselves outside the front wall. Sandstone walls 10 feet high enclose the estate, affording those who once lived some privacy. A two-story stone house is visible beyond the walls. Adjoining the rear wall of the property, center of the estate's southern wall stands a pair of tarnished bronze gate hanging partially open. A pair of statues flank the gate. Dusty hieroglyphs are carved into the wall at eye level of the gate. The hieroglyphs read House of Pentheru, Ancient Siriani. The statues depict two men of regal bearing, dressed in loose stone robes of traditional Osiriani headcloths. A trivial perception check reveals small hieroglyphs at the statue's base. Identify the statues as Pentheru the Elder and Pentheru the Younger. The Blonde's great gate seems to be rather decrepit, broken open long ago, doesn't have any means to secure them. So we'll quickly shove them open and stroll inside. Go and drag everybody onto the map. We'll put Big Green on the map, but again, he's probably not going to be all that important. Have 18 HP, just so he is there. Everybody on the inside here. Taking a look in the outer courtyard. It's actually left and you to the right. Dust and sand cover the ground of this small courtyard. East and west stare at a pair of columns, once brightly painted and now bleached from the sun, which support stone archways leading to the other sections of the property. Turkish bronze gates hang open under both arches. To the north, a small set of flight leads up to an ornate door. In the south wall of the house, between another set of columns. One thing I do need to do before we go any further is Cypress. I prepare your new spell you learned today. No, I did not. Another Cure Light Wounds. Again, there's a lot of other good stuff here, but it's not all that important. However, next up, we are entitled to a perception check. Noticeably, every single person needs to make this perception check. We are getting ready to go into initiative, and it is a special sort of initiative. We'll discuss in just a moment. Okay, Cypress, he succeeds. The DC on this is a DC 20. Oh my goodness, a T succeeds. Gamu, you succeed. Shari, are you also going to succeed? No, Shari and Big Green is entitled to his own perception check, but it is not going to help in this circumstance. So, we then need to make everybody roll initiative. Let's go ahead and add everybody to the tracker. And / GM roll 1d20. Okay, so we go. Agamu is at a 14, Atis at a 24, Shari is at a 16, and Cypress is at a 9. Very unfortunate. So, as we walk inside, hear the sound of an angry mob in the distance. The kind of hairs on the back of our neck stand up. However, we are then entitled to a knowledge check of some sort. What the heck is this? We feel awful. We feel bad. Let's go ahead and take a look. Atis, do you have anything going on here? This is a surprise round, so you're only entitled to some sort of actions. You don't have any relevant knowledge checks, so instead she is just going to delay until after someone tells her what to do. Shari is going to not act as a surprise round. Agamu is entitled to a check. Do you by chance have knowledge religion there, Agamu? You do not. You have no idea what this is. Okay, in which case, we are going to... Then this taunt is going to activate. This is considered a haunt. A haunt is a special kind of encounter. It's basically... It combines a normal encounter with a trap. There is a... gives you a radius to locate it. For example, this one is 10 foot inside. The 10-foot radius inside the main gate. So as you step in, it will trigger. It has an HP pool, a trigger, and a reset proximity. The haunt is triggered. The sounds of an angry mob can be heard outside. A woman's voice cries out in ancient Osiriani. Hold the gate! Don't let them inside the compound! Powerful blows shake and rattle the gates, as everyone inside the haunt area is affected by, in this instance, cause fear. So, the ways to deal with haunts. First off, you have to successfully identify what a haunt is. The only way to do that is with a knowledge religion check. That will allow you to identify, first off, this is a haunt. And second off, if you roll exceedingly high, you might be able to identify what will disable it. So in this instance, the trap or the haunt will reset within 1 day, and it will... The only way to destroy it is the gate at area B1, so the main gate, must be sprinkled with holy water, repaired, and secured with a relevant craft check. It can be a craft check, disable device check, or a spell such as Make Whole. However, haunts go on initiative 10, and they also act in the surprise round. The only way to get to act during the haunts round is, first off, make what's usually a perception check, and then roll high on initiative. Now, all that's taken care of. We did all that, we got through that. How do you destroy a haunt, or how do you damage a haunt? It has 4 HP in this case. Positive energy. Any form of positive energy that is discharged within the area will automatically do damage to the haunt, no save. So, for example, Agamu could channel energy to harm undead. That would work. Agamu could, or Agamu, or Shari, or Cypress could just cast their spell into the air, or cast their spell and wave their arm in the air trying to target the haunt. You can just pour out a potion in the sky. All of those are valid ways to damage a haunt. In this instance, however, it is going to be a cause fear effect. Cause fear. We go ahead and Google what that does. Cause fear. Will save or be frightened for one round. Shaken if you succeed. It lasts a little bit of time. So effectively, this is a time waster. A lot of haunts are. So anything like this is just a cause fear haunt. The important thing is, in this circumstance, I really like what the writers did here, is they primed the players for encountering haunts later down the line. When I first encountered haunts, I had no idea what they do, how to deal with them, what to do. Our GM was relatively inexperienced. He didn't know either. So we just had to suck it up and eat every single haunt we encountered. It was a brutal experience. However, once you encounter the first one, you can identify, hey, how do we deal with this haunt? Maybe you go back into town and go, hey, what are haunts? How do we deal with them? But once you know, oh, you just put positive energy into them, we are very, very good at that. But because this haunt is not deadly, and there's not an associated encounter to go along with it, for example, the will save on this is only a DC, 11? Yeah. So most of the party, at least half of the party or more, should succeed on that will save. You can then, normally there'd be like a zombie or two to make this encounter something, relevant. But in this case, it's not that big a deal. It's just a well-done haunt. Let's go ahead and have, once everybody gets back, maybe some people were running away, maybe some people weren't. Cypress is entitled to an knowledge religion check to know what the heck is going on there. That's a 22. And let's go ahead and look up haunts. Pathfinder haunts. It might give you a, oh, these are just haunts. Haunt rules. Here we go. Uh, always manifests at initiative 10 in the surprise round unless stated otherwise. You may make a notice check. Haunt detects life sources and triggers, blah, blah, blah. Around damage at AC 10 in order to effect on. Oh, so you actually do have to hit the AC 10. Didn't realize that. Well, whatever. Neutralizing a haunt does not end it. Some haunts come back. Haunts persist. Elements of a haunt, destruction, creating a haunt. Gives some various conditions. Doesn't give you the DC to identify what it is required to get rid of the haunt. Usually I would say like 10 plus the DC to, it's a CR2 haunt, plus 10, so at least 10 beyond that, so 22 might allow you to identify what this haunt, what would take to get rid of this haunt. For example, we could identify, maybe because of the shaking of the doors, that they're in some way relevant, the decrepit state of them may have something to do with it. And then, of course, holy water is sometimes important. It's hard to say. Depending on the GM, they might just not allow you to identify it. But in this circumstance, Cypress might be able to piece things together. A little holy water sprinkled on the repaired doors would do it. Let's see. He'll spend some time taking 10, taking 20, repairing the doors in such a way that they look good. Just to make things nice and easy. Now then, got a bunch of different directions we could go. Left, forward, or right. I'm always a fan of, as I said before, with exploration, you pick a direction and you continue going that way. So we either clear the right side of the house or we clear the left side of the house, or we go forward into the house. I usually like going left or right. Sometimes I'll say, hey, GM, we'll go left or right depending on what's easier. Sometimes they'll say, oh, go left, go right. Sometimes not, they'll leave it up to you. Because it's easier to go numerically in terms of the game as opposed to randomly throughout the order, because you don't sometimes forget areas. But exploration time, we are going, I think right would make sense. Left is apparently better, but we're going to the right. Let's also go ahead and lower the... Hi. Zoom in. Lower the opacity of the grid. Maybe not that much. There. Okay, let's stroll on over to this door. It seems to be unlocked. No big issue with that one. Kicking it open and revealing what's inside. A spacious yard fills the compound east of the house. To the east, several small outbuildings have been built right side of the outer wall. A well stands between two of these outbuildings, opposite a stone table and benches that sit along the stone house. West, two sets of steps, flanked by columns, lead up to doors inside the main house. Off to the north, an open doorway leads to the extension of the roof, next to a small structure with a domed roof. However, inside this yard seems to be something that is probably trying to stealth. Okay, so as we stroll into this yard, it seems like nothing is about. However, we are entitled to a perception check. This thing has that. Actually, no, it's not even trying to stealth. It's just a snake. So, again, plop down a snake. However, this specific snake doesn't seem to be... I mean, taking a look around, just look at the perception check. Beyond the snake existing there doesn't seem to be any treasure, and it doesn't seem to be threatening us. I mean, it's looking warily at us as we walk past, but as we're not actively threatening it, it doesn't seem to have any problem with us just walking past it. We're quickly going to go ahead and take a look down the well, see if anything has, if there's anything of value down there. A lot of times there'll be something hidden down wells, but nothing seems to be down this one. So we'll continue forward. Oh, hold on. They, Apparently it was in the shade underneath this table. My mistake. As we stroll past here, though, the right room here, maybe even one further back. This one room structured devoid of any furnishing save the ruined remains of furniture that have been disintegrated with the passage of time. Borrowing, of course, a large two-headed canine made its den inside this building. Let's go ahead and get a good old dog here. It is neutral hungry. I've had a successful hunt in days and is looking to eat people. No dogs here, so we'll use a wolf. Just make that. It is called a death dog. So we will take a quick gander through that. So, looking at all that, initiative bonus of +2 makes things nice and easy. Add it to the tracker. And roll initiative for everybody. 5. Okay, Agamu, 10. Cypress of 12. 23. We're at 4. Dog is at 22. Okay, first up. A Tease. That looks like a dog. Is it a dog? It is large-sized. Okay, very dog-like. Yes. Got it. Okay. It's not undead. I know that. It looks to be living. I know that. It looks like a dog, so it's presumably intelligent to some degree. I don't know how smart it is. So, this is a valid target for a color spray. I believe. I'm pretty sure it's a valid target for a color spray. So we need to position ourselves such that a 15-foot cone would affect it. If we go over here, we can go... First, you go snap to center because this is a cone. 15-foot cone looks like that. Specifically, I'll go ahead and draw out a 15-foot cone. A 15-foot cone looks like either that or that, targeting from any one of your corners. So anything in that area of effect can be affected by it. Those are the easy way to do it. However, if you have access to Roll20, you are able to go ahead and use the cone tool that I demonstrated before. And you can kind of do all sorts of weird shapes. Of note, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about diagonals. Diagonals are weird. I said before in Pathfinder, the second diagonal is 2 extra movement. Going here would be 5, here would be 15. That makes sense for moving. That's how geometry works, Pythagorean theorem and all that. However, this diagonal, if we press, was it Shift? Come on. Be Control. Get this eventually. Normally you press Shift. Why is it not working this time? Normally you press Shift and it... Well, whatever. That shouldn't be lingering like that. Refreshing Roll20 it is. Okay, give me a second while I get things back set up. And Roll2. Oh goodness, thank goodness I did that. The join link was visible there. Okay. Put up all these character sheets again. East. Cypress, slide you to the left. Sorry, slide you to the left. Green, slide you to the left. Now then, can I... this ruler to work now? Okay. So, I'm apparently dumb, and I have to do it a special way. Apparently, you have to make it so it doesn't snap. So if we look here, we go from the center of this square, over to here is 5. That's fine. Over to here is 10. However, it suddenly jumps from about 10 to 15 all of a sudden. So this counts as both 10 foot for for reach and 15 foot for reach. So it makes diagonals very awkward. So if you have a reach weapon, for example, you can go 2 squares, but you also then can't extend beyond. It's funky. You just got to kind of live with it. So back to what we were doing. We were throwing out a color spray. A color spray up for Atis. If we go back to Atis, open up her character sheet. Her spell DC for a first level spell is 16. We have cast a color spray. Let's go ahead and have the monster make a will save. This will be a DC 16 with a +2 bonus. 20. He will successfully make his fortitude save. Very, very bad, because now Atis is in danger. She has moved, she has cast a spell, her turn is over. Doggo time. It is a 5-foot reach, which means it must move up and make an attack. That thing just cast a spell at me, so I'm going to do it against you. And move up and try and bite you. Hopefully I will miss. Noticeably, her AC is 14. I'm going to go ahead and have her cast a couple of mage armors on both herself and Agamu. Set this as a buff. I believe mage armor is a common buff. It is. Go to Agamu as well. Because our exploration, or our mage armor will now last 2 hours, that's probably going to be the entire adventuring, our entire adventure through this dungeon for today. Makes things nice and easy. So, we made our save. Let's go ahead and make an attack roll. 10 plus 4 will mean you only hit AC 16, and Atis right now has AC, you're only hit AC 14. So 16 is what you'll hit. He could have charged, but he might have been not really prepared for that. Didn't really need to charge, though he did have the movement to charge. The way charging works is it requires at least 10 foot of movement, and allows you to get +2 to hit in exchange for -2 to AC. This creature, while not overly intelligent, it has an intelligence score of 4, knows enough that it seems to be easier to hit when it charges. So it's not going to do that. Plus, this person doesn't seem heavily armored. None of us do, in fact. Looks kind of squishy and meaty. So it's just going to try and bite him normally, not knowing that they're magically protected. Mage armor doesn't have any visual effects. So that will miss. Luckily or unluckily for us, Cypress is then going to go. He's going to try to identify what this thing is. It is a magical beast that is under the Arcana skill check. Go to character sheet, we got to skills, knowledge Arcana. We had 24. I have not encountered a death dog before. This is Bestiary 4, so it's a little bit more exotic. Most importantly, at least starting 15, because I've not encountered it before, but it's a Bestiary 4, so it exists elsewhere. 15 plus CR2, so 17. I get 2 questions about this. We'll ask special defenses. You generally know neutral, evil, large magical beast. That's what you get for base. It has no special defenses. Okay? Special attacks is the next thing I usually ask. Those are the kind of the top 2. Unless I believe that there is something special about these. It has a disease on its bite. It also trips on its bite, as a lot of wolf-like creatures do. Okay, no big issue with that. It also seemed to have only close reach. So I could throw a bomb at this thing. It doesn't seem I don't think it's overly necessary. 22 with 13 AC. I think for now I'm just going to back up and shoot a crossbow bolt at it. It's in melee, so I'm taking a penalty to this. But I will hit and do 5 points of damage. Seemed fully effective, which means this fight is not long for this world. Agamu, same sort of thing. Back up, shoot a crossbow. Agamu's here. Bit of damage there. And most importantly, Shari. Now, Shari, we went back to town and probably bought her a new weapon. Let's go ahead and find which weapon we want her to use. Pathfinder weapon. Go to AON. Okay. So martial weapons I'm proficient. We probably want a 2-handed weapon, or maybe a really nice 1-handed weapon. Decent crit range. We could go a cutlass. That's only a D6. A Gandasa. That's not awful. Longsword, maybe. Rapier or scimitar. Both make sense. I'm really looking for a higher number. Maybe a nice greatsword. I mean, it's probably going to be a greatsword. Greatswords are great. Now we'll do a longsword in this circumstance because it allows you to use it in one hand. So we'll switch the Morning Star over to a Great Sword. Or a Long Sword. The reason I have a Long Sword, I want a slashing-handed weapon. That is specifically if I am grappled or swallowed whole, I want some way to be able to get out of that. And a longsword is a way to do it. This is a 19 to 20 crit range. There's no... I mean, we could use a falchion. That's another decent option. 18 to 20 times 2. Makes sense for this region. A cold iron falchion would be a great purchase. For now, again, eh. But it is large long, which means I'm able to attack it from either square. Don't have a magical weapon yet, so I'm still going to be using my Lucerne Hammer. Hit for 10 points of damage. Not looking good. Big Green now has the opportunity to go ahead and finish it off. Luckily, Big Green is a worthless little lad. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with an Acid Splash. On a Tease. Roll high, please. 16 to touch. Even -4 will mean touch of... Yes. Okay, you'll hit, do 2 points of damage, which is enough to bring down the dog. Nice and easy. The reason, of course, we did that is for disease. Disease are a little bit different than normal. You roll a fortitude save, but you don't immediately know if you succeeded or not. 1 day later, you'll start feeling the effects. Until the onset happens, you are not able to identify that someone is diseased. You're not showing symptoms, it's kind of in your body. Beyond that, you can identify it with a relatively easy heal check to identify what they are. Usually the heal check is the DC of whatever, or the check to identify is whatever the DC to save is. So heal check DC 12 would identify this is worm pox. And every day you're entitled to a fort save. If you fail the save, you take 1 con damage. You need 2 saves in a row to succeed. And you get other bonuses based on various other factors. So, no big deal with that encounter. So we're going to give the snake a wide berth. Not really worry too much about him. As we go ahead and come up into this next building. I assume this next one is 7. Correct. Go around the corner and do as appropriate. Okay. We also saw perception check, identified that there was some loot back there. No big deal. This building seems very similar to the area we were just at before. However, nothing currently lives inside. Some debris, refuse, and windblown sand is apparently all that matters, or all that catches our eye. Next up, we can examine this little area to the right here. Step inside. By we, I mean the person with the most HP and willingness to get hit. Married pair of servants employed... seems to be a very similar structure to the ones before. Stone walls connected to the exterior. However, inside, there's a bunch of lore that the party doesn't get to know. Beyond the fact that there seems to be 3 skeletons, 2 of them much larger than the third. Skeletons are trivial, we'll just smack them down, no big deal, not gonna bother. The hardest thing about them is they have DR bypassed by... or DR overcome by bludgeoning weapons, but a Lucerne Hammer or various channels or bombs will be enough to take them out. They have 4 hit points, it's trivial with the correct weapon. So, let's go ahead and move over to this next bad boy here. This one... small granary with a domed roof and small door in the front sits against the north wall of this compound. We'll go ahead and kick it open, and immediately run into a swarm. 3 assets here. I don't think there's going to be any good swarm asset, so we will simply use... what do we got? You have a... what are we fighting? A scarab. Yeah, you have a scarab. So we will just use, I don't know, we'll use a giant toad to represent our swarm. Again, it can fill any squares. We're going to get and roll initiative immediately. Hope that our swarm rolls really low because we are in a terrible position to deal with the swarm. Roll 13, which is good, but not incredible. Once again, 23 there. A 20. Agamu is at an 8. Or at a 18. And it is a scarab swarm. I would like to show you guys how to deal with swarms and how to play as a swarm. Fortunately, these guys are way worse, because they have usually most swarms come with a poison and distraction. These ones come with a disease and distraction. The previous one encountered just distraction. They have an initial bonus of 0, which means a 13 is what you got. Okay. First up is a Tease. We know we need to spread out pretty horrifically. So, swarms. It's a giant swarm of insects. We know how to deal with swarms. Draw our acid flask. Back up. You can draw it as you move. It's not a weapon. Actually, hold on. No. So we're going to throw. The problem is we're throwing through our allies. So what we're going to do is we're going to delay until after Cypress goes. So Cypress is going to go first. He identifies this as a swarm. AC. I mean, it's going to touch AC is what matters, but it should be equal to normal AC. So 22 with an 18 touch. So I'm going to attempt to throw a bomb at this far corner there. So I will go ahead and go to Cypress's page. First, we're attempting to identify this. This is a scarab swarm. Scarabs are a vermin. Vermin are knowledge in nature. Knowledge which I do not have, so we have no idea what these things do. I mean, we identify them as scarabs, but beyond that, eh. Okay, next up, attack roll. We are attacking against touch with our normal bomb. Make sure all our buffs are active. They are. I do not. They're not sufficient to be able to hit, which means I am going to go ahead and splash. If we go to a 1d8, it will splash against the back wall, still hitting the swarm with splash. Swarm is entitled to a reflex save. DC was not listed because I'm a dummy. And plus half level plus mod. The answer is a net 1 will fail, so it will take 6 damage. However, it is an AoE damage, so it'll multiply by 1.2, so it'll be 9 damage. I'll also then move hell out of the way. You can right-click over here to move such as that. Next up, Atis will come out of delay. She will throw her... or draw a thing as she moves. Really can't draw it as she moves. A weapon-like object. If you have at least a BAB of 1, when you take a move action to move, you are able to draw a weapon. Or a weapon-like object. A bow, a sword, or whatnot. Alchemist Fire are not that. However, I didn't account for wrist sheaths. Spring-loaded wrist sheaths are a very good item. They cost 8 gold pieces, either 5 or 8 gold pieces. A trivial amount. You should have one on both of your wrists. You load something as a full run action. It takes some time to load them, but then it allows you to draw the items as a swift action. We do not have any potions of healing, so we will swift action, pull out an alchemist flask. That would be a reasonable thing to have. And we are then going to throw the acid flask. Again, we aren't taking penalties because no one's threatening anybody. Of course, they can't be hit. That will miss horribly. It's going to splash for 1. The question is, which direction do I throw it? 7, which means it will go to the straight left, which means it'll go there. Still splash for 1 point of damage, but then miss. I will then slide over down into this room. 4, 5. Yes, nice indeed. Next up, Shari will similarly draw and throw a acid flask. Once again, that's not what I mean. Roll a miss, so a splash for 8, which means it'll do 1 point of damage. And then we move away. There, I guess. Maybe here, that makes a little bit more sense. Next up is the Swarm. Now, the Swarm, of course, is not intelligent enough to move anywhere smart. It's going to attack the biggest group of enemies that it can see. In this case, that is going to be a Gamu. It's probably going to move a little bit closer, like down here, for example, because it wants to get close to Shari, but however, as long as you're at least 4 squares away, you're good. Can't Tetris onto anything else. So, Gamu will then need to make 2 saves, 2 fortitude saves. Luckily, he's one that's not terrible at these. First against the disease, and then against the distraction. The DC on the fortitude save is DC 13, so that'll happen in a few days. Which, for the most part, means nothing. 1d3. And tomorrow, he'll have to deal with filth fever, which is truthfully a pretty terrible disease. However, we can just wait it out. If it had an onset of more than 1 day, odds are we would finish with this section of the adventure before anything bad happened. But for now, don't worry about it. And then distraction, he made a save against, and we'll call that good. Next up, oh, also he just automatically takes a d6 points of damage. 6. It's a moment to load. 5 points of damage. Ow. Now then, Agamu is going to delay until after... Nope, he's not. He's going to move because he needs to get out of this bad guy's area. He's going to move over here, I guess, and throw an acid flask. That has a possibility of hitting. Agamu, what is your ranged attack? I think it actually is bad. Range attack is only +1, so yeah, that'll miss. That'll splash somewhere around here. It has a possibility of splashing our allies. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It will not splash our allies, so it'll be 1 point of damage. Next up, Cypress. Go over here and throw a bomb. That will miss. It's a very important splash, however. 3. 1, 2, 3. So reflex save for the bad guy. Will fail and take 6 points of damage. Once again, half again. -9. And finally, Atis will come over here and throw another bad boy. This one will hit and it will do enough damage to kill it. So, a lot of acid flasks used there, but only for a trivial amount of damage. Now, next up, let's talk about out-of-combat healing. We have enough money now that we've probably bought some sort of healing stick. Wands are the main way to do this. So if we go to Pathfinder Wands, the prices of them are, for a first level wand, it costs 750 gold pieces and it comes with 50 charges. So effectively think of that as 15 gold pieces per cast. An average potion costs 50 gold pieces for a first level potion. You're saving a stupid amount of money by buying it as a wand. However, that is always going to mean it is minimum caster level. So for a first level spell, that means it casts level 1. So if you buy a wand of Cure Light Wounds as a common healing item, that will mean it'll heal a d8 plus 1 hit points for every charge. So an average of 5.5 hit points. Let me go ahead and key you into the best healing wand in the game. Pathfinder Infernal Healing. But its sister, Pathfinder Celestial Healing. So, Infernal Healing and Celestial Healings are a set of twin spells. They sound similar, in fact are very different. So, Celestial Healing lasts 1 round per 2 levels. That's atrocious. It gives you, unite the creature with the blood of the good outsider, blah blah blah. It gives you Fast Healing 1 for this duration. So for Fast Healing means every round you heal that amount. If you're dead, of course you don't heal, but Fast Healing 1 round per 2 levels. Instead, Infernal Healing gives you the same thing. For the period of time, it cannot repair damage caused by silver weapons, good line weapons, or things with a good descriptor. No big deal. You rated it as evil for the duration of the spell. Again, you're only rating it as evil. You are not actually made evil in any way. And you can sense that the magic is evil, so you feel a little bit off if you're maybe a good line cleric. However, it has no long-term effects on the player's alignment. So, what does that mean? This spell lasts 1 minute. So why they decided to have these two spells last different periods of time, possibly because it's evil and they want devils make it a bit easier to cast their magic because they like people feeling evil and rating evil. Maybe it makes more sense lore-wise that devil blood is a little bit more powerful. But Infernal Healing gives you Fast Healing 10 for 1 minute. So 10 rounds of Fast Healing 1 means 10 points of healing over a minute. So, instead of 5.5 hit points per cast, you get 10 hit points per cast. Almost double the effectiveness. So effectively 1.5 gold per hit point of healing. A Wand of Infernal Healing, assuming you don't have any short duration buffs, is your best healing wand. So now, going forward, out of combat, you should heal to full every single time. So after your first adventure, so after your first thing, the party probably pulled their money together. If it's 750 gold pieces divided by two, that's like 180 something per person. So less than 200 gold per person gets you this wand that is going to give you 750 or give you 500 hit points during the duration of your adventure. Again, spectacular. In my games, I usually allow celestial healing to be as good as infernal healing because some people do take exception to infernal healing. I do, once you get to a little higher level, believe you should carry a one of infernal healing and a one of cure light wounds, just because the one of cure light wounds is used for instant healing. It brings someone up and it gives you a burst of healing as opposed to a slow duration in case you're need it in combat or something similar. Now we have gone ahead and explored the entirety of this courtyard. Let's take a look at the scenario, most importantly at the map. Apparently, B10 is an area. I hope B10 didn't have anything. Oh god, B10 had something in it. It is another one of those giant Salafugids, the spiders with the big slashy claws at the front. Trivial encounter, we're not going to bother with it. It's clinging to the ceiling, we would see it and probably stab it down. Okay. So, we got a bunch of directions we could go. No real draw to any particular region. Probably before we go inside, we should finish exploring the exterior of this location. So let's go ahead and drag the party, group everybody up, scroll out a little bit. That's the scroll. There we go. Okay. Group everybody up and slide them on over to this next section. Now we go into area B3, which we skipped before. Western side of the state forms a large L-shaped yard that is mostly given to sand, sun-dried earth, and ancient hunks of dead trees. Stone benches led the wall of the yard, and a large tiled pool sits in the southwest corner, dried and partially filled with sand. A short flight of steps leads up to a pair of pillars between the set of stone doors to the west side of the house. At the north end of the yard stands a squat stone building with columns at every corner. There is an enemy inside. We'll go ahead and take a quick look at that. It's a difficult encounter for this level. A giant whiptail centipede. I assume these guys have poison. Usually they do. Do AON because it is not being nice to us. Okay. So, they do have a poison, and they actually have a pretty fantastic hit roll. Do they have a climb speed? They have a climb speed as well, which means you can't just toss rocks at them from the roof. Okay. This is a rude encounter. Seems to be inside the pool and will attack anything nearby. It is a huge-sized vermin. That means it is a 3x3, which means you're going to have to start learning how to deal with a reach. Specifically with the tail slap is 20-foot reach. I want to roll this encounter. I probably should go ahead and rule out this encounter. Okay, let's find ourselves a centipede. Like this encounter because it is brutal, but because it contains poison and a lot of bad things, go ahead and add everybody to the tracker, and then start rolling a bunch of d20s. 5. Okay, centipede, you are +0, so you are a 5. The rest will come down the list. 20. East has a 2. Sorry, has a 10, and Cyprus has a 13. Oh, no, 11. Doesn't matter for the most part, but... Okay, a tease. What is that thing? Looks like a giant bug, which is probably unintelligent, which means I can't color spray it. Okay. Acid it is. And probably when you open the door, it has clambered out of the pool at this point, so it's beginning to climb the walls. I don't know how deep this pool is, it doesn't say exactly. but it probably climbs out enough so that you can see it. I have a close range on this spell, which means I do need to move forward a little bit. Close range means one space closer. Okay. Let's go ahead and shoot some acid at it. Of note, it is still flat-footed. Even though it clambered out of the pool, it is still considered flat-footed. So it's 38 AC, or 38, not AC. That'd be atrocious. 38 hit points, so -4. Okay, Agamu. We know how Agamu works. This thing is giant, so it's easy to shoot over your party members and still be able to hit it. Agamu, let's go ahead and roll some high numbers. That's not a high number. Hey, Cypress. He needs to... I mean, honestly, he just needs to figure this out. How do we want to deal with this? It's not valuable enough to use bombs on. Crossbow does similar damage, assuming a decent roll. So, yep, he's just going to crossbow it. A little bit of damage there. Okay, Shari, how far away are you? Fortunately, oh no, you're a perfect distance to be able to move forward. This thing doesn't have combat reflexes, otherwise it may be able to attack us as we approach. So it is going to... We are then going to move forward, not charge, notably. Actually, we will charge. We want the bonus to hit. Let's go Shari. +2 to hit with a Lucerne Hammer. 9 points of damage. And good old Big Green only gets 1 attack because he did move. Is going to go for a tail slap. 17 for 8 points of damage. Okay. Now, this thing is unintelligent. It'll probably just attack whatever hurt it the most, or similar. Of note, both the big lady and the guy hurt it just about the same. 9 damage versus 8 damage doesn't really mean anything. So it's about 50-50 on which one it will attack in my eyes. So it's going to 5-foot step up. It is going to tail slap to start. Presumably it is going to tail slap the thing on the ground. So in this case, Big Green. It will successfully tail slap, yes, because you charged. You are +3 to hit. It'll do 1d3 non-lethal points of damage. 1 non-lethal point of damage. So Big Green is here. I'm going to track non-lethal here, because they are separate from normal HP. And then I need to try and roll to trip you. You get a bonus on trip rolls, because you are a quadruped, which means I'll fail to trip. In that case, I have already attacked you, so I'm going to continue to attack you. As I said, normally I would attack either target, but I've done damage to one thing, I'm then going to continue to attack it. I have a trip, if we notice, we have a non-lethal trip on our attack here. The goal is to trip it, and then attack with our bite to do damage. After a creature is tripped, it is easier to attack, which is why you start with that. You can do these in any order, whichever is most conducive. Keep in mind, a tail slap is a secondary, which is why it is taking -5 to hit. Like an iterative attack. So, let us see if we make our bite attack. 18, which means we will succeed on our bite attack, which means we do successfully poison. And this is a horrifically miserable poison. I do not know why in the world would they include this creature in this scenario this early on. Okay, Big Green. Fort save. He failed. Of course he failed. It's a DC 17 Fortitude save. So you'll take 1d4 points of dex damage. 4 points of dex damage. And you effectively are gone for the rest of time. Okay. So at this point, we probably kill the creature. No big deal there. The problem is, Big Green is going to die. Is going to get paralyzed unless something happens. So, let's roll a couple of Fortitude saves. Is it 1 save or is it 2 saves? Sure, 1 save once per round for 6 rounds. So he just needs to roll high. He'll get guidance. Doesn't make it. Fails. Fails. Succeeds. Okay. Makes things nice and easy. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he only took a total of basically the entirety of his score. A total of 13 points of dex damage. So, keep in mind, the person here with the highest Fortitude save is probably Shari with her +5. That means she'd have a 60% chance of about 60% chance of failing this roll. So a 40% chance of success means with a good roll, with the good damage rolls and all that, we probably could kill this creature in 2 rounds. His AC is not particularly high; it has some hit points, but again, we can probably do this. 2 rounds, it might get off 2 attacks. Worst case scenario. So odds are someone is going to fail the save against poison, and then it's 1d4 points of dex damage. So an average party is going to take at least what 5 to 10 points of dex damage. I mean, the amount of damage that Big Green had taken there is so hampering that we need to wait 2 weeks before we can come back and explore this location. Again, I don't mind poisons. I do not believe this is an appropriate poison to put at the beginning of a dungeon. At this level. Because we have no way of curing it. I don't know what the writers... They've done a couple of things right. I like some of the traps they've encountered. I like how they've primed the players with some encounters early on. The swarm encounter that only lasts a few rounds towards the end of a dungeon to alert the party to swarm so they can deal with this swarm and this encounter better. Awesome. First haunt being a thing that doesn't do damage but alerts you how to haunt works. Awesome. But then the high DR enemies that an average party might not be able to deal with. This creature, which just invalidates a party member for the rest of a dungeon. Not only a party member, a frontline party member for the rest of a dungeon. It's odd. If I was writing this, or if I was running this, I would lower the DC of the poison to maybe a 13, 14, somewhere in that range. Lower the DC of the poison by a lot, and make it a D2 or a D3 poison instead. Because that way, I would take maybe a D3 points of dex damage. Let's say we want to do that instead. 1d3, I take 2 points of dex damage. I can continue exploring with 2 points of dex damage. I'd have made my second save. It'd be a little over a coin flip chance for an average person. Some people have good fort save, some people have bad. Usually people invest in con. So a DC 13 fort save is maybe a little bit worse than a 50-50 at second level. For a D3 points of damage, you can live with that. Odds are that average is somewhere between 2 to 3 damage. So let's go with that instead. 2 points of dex damage. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how that is balanced. Of course, we get no loot for this either. So looking forward, we see a mausoleum. Rectangular stone-faced buildings to the northwest corner of this estate. At each corner stands columns carved to resemble men and women with their arms crossed over their chests. Set of stone doors in the north or south face of this building, carved with the bas relief of 2 men. Hieroglyphs are carved into the doors just beyond the face. The faces of the doors represent Pentheru the Elder and the Younger, which we recognized earlier. We recognized and were given the names of earlier. 2 of the building's 4 columns depict the 2 men. The other 2 columns depict women. Presumably maybe related. They don't seem to have a... One of the women doesn't seem to... Here's how to put it. Best guess, one of the women seems completely unrelated. One of them shares maybe some similarities to the Younger. So possibly the wives of the people? Maybe some sort of skill check would help with that. I don't know what check, maybe a knowledge local to identify their features. Hard to say. Maybe a perception check. Just to identify some of their facial features. Before we go any further, though, I think it might be worth... Normally, I'm of the opinion that you should clear the entirety of one floor before you move on to somewhere new. So, for example, I wouldn't go upstairs if I wouldn't go up these stairs here if I hadn't cleared the entirety of this floor. It keeps people from being able to ambush you from behind. It also just makes mapping nice and easy. However, in this case, before I go into the building, I would like to go into the crypt. When we have a lot of our resources, undead are notorious for using things like diseases and poisons. Plus, we have a lot of charges left on our various resources. So I'm going to deal with any undead that may be occupying the crypt before we go forward. Means we're jumping all the way down to area B26. Okay, scroll, scroll, scroll. I see a lot of pictures that make me worried. Forward. B26. We bring the party down. A stone altar sits on a raised platform in the center of this room. Carotid columns carved in the likeness of male and female figures with their arms linked over their chest, and kopeshes or ankhs in each hand stand at the corner of the platform. Empty torch holders are built into the four corners of the room. Two stairways exit the room. One climbs to the south, while the other descends from the north of this chamber. There is something inside this room. Looks very worrisome. Go ahead and pull add here. Go to images. It looks like that. So kind of like a zombie, kind of like a mummy, not quite either. We're not exactly sure what it is. We'll have to, of course, make a knowledge check associated with this, but it is some sort of thing down here. Looks mummy-like. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if we got a good old mummy. Taking a look at stats, do we have anything we need to worry about? It's got 2 slams. It's some DR, which makes it annoying, but overall, not the big an issue. It's just some hit points. Mostly, it has the grab feature, which can grab up to large-sized things. Neat, I guess. Plus 19 to grapple. What the heck? Oh, okay. Because a weapon... Oh! Weapons that strike get struck fast unless you succeed on a reflex save. You can pry it with a strength check, but provokes attack opportunity. Gives a plus 8 racial bonus to attack rolls. Attempt to grapple a foe without spending an action whenever the creature successfully hits it with a natural attack or an unarmed strike. Hero does not gain the grapple condition when it grapples a foe, nor does it provoke when it attempts to do so. Fire can temporarily burn away. Takes at least 10 points of fire damage. It loses its sticky quality for a few rounds. Okay. A fun encounter. I'm not gonna roll this one out. But because we have enough damage on Shari between her 4 different weapons, at the very least, plus a number of daggers, she can probably do it, plus some range damage from the rest of it. Well, not really much range damage. But it could also be color sprayed away. It is a magical beast. Or a monstrous humanoid, so a fourth will save, and then if it fails its will save, the fight's over. Again, trivial stuff. Fail to will save, fight's over. We get up D4 rounds of wailing on it without anything bad happening. It can't grapple us when we make natural attack weapons, so... A fun little encounter. I'll wipe away a color spray for that one. Where's a T? Spells, you've used 2 color sprays now. Okay. I like that encounter, though. It makes you think undead without actually being undead. Okay, moving up to the next stairwell. Or not. As we have... Actually, probably not noticed this trap. Perception is DC 25, which means we don't automatically identify it with a Gamu rolling with a 23. Means Shari fails, and Cypress probably also going to fail. I think he needs a nat 20 to succeed on this one. Indeed he does. Okay, so Shari's going to trigger it. It is going to attempt to stab her for a little bit of damage. Again, it's a mechanical trap. The perception on it is DC 25. That seems a lot. Rather ingenious mechanism built into the staircase. Trigger. Oh! Oh, that is ingenious. Okay, hold on. If the party is moving up in formation, at the bottom step does not trigger the trap, it arms the trap. Only once you reach the top of the stairwell is the trap triggered. That's cool. That's a good one. I think it's dumb that the DC to identify that as a 25, but It's just a little bit of HP damage, no big deal. Couple of channels, that problem is dealt with. So, moving into the next room, seems to be some sort of chamber beyond. Air in this room is cool. The walls and ceilings are tiled with stone, but the floor is hard-packed earth, giving the area an unfinished quality. A large stone table rests along the western wall, flanked by two large brass urns. A flight of steps ascend to the south, while two passages light to the east and north out of this room. Looking around inside, it doesn't seem to have a whole lot. There's some brass urns that may have been once used in a mummification process based on the knowledge we know of the area. However, the brass of them is not much of value to it. Perception check, which we probably failed to identify, means we can look around. Anything of value in this room? Not really, so I guess we're going to turn the corner. An earthly scent fills this large chamber. Ceiling and walls, they're tiled with stone. But the ground is bare earth. Stone benches are set in the walls to the east and west. Torch holders are mounted in the corners, on either side of the wide doorway to the west. Beginnings of several shallow, rough passageways have been started along the eastern wall into the southeast west corner. Excavations are incomplete, ending in earth and rubble after only a few feet. At the south end of the room, a wide flight of steps descend to a set of stone double doors. There is a swarm in here. Let's go ahead and go Pathfinder. Pathfinder. Is an Ubakashi swarm. Okay. This is a different kind of swarm. This is a swarm of small undead cats. What does that mean for us specifically? We can go ahead and take a picture of it. Actually, hold on. There might be an image on the internet of it. Not really. Okay. Just think undead cats attacking you. Noticeably, it is a swarm of tiny-sized creatures. Tiny-sized creatures means it's still susceptible to damage from weapons. Half damage from that. It's also an undead. It does have a disease. The Ubakashi fever does some strength and wisdom, 2 consecutive. Within a day, again, not too worried about this disease. 2 consecutive is a little annoying, but +3 to initiative, it's undead, we're very good against this. Burst healing would do half again as much damage, weapons do half damage. A rather trivial fight, all things considered. But I think that in my opinion, the first swarm you should ever introduce players to should be a tiny-sized swarm. So that way players are familiar with how swarms work, and their weapons are only going to do half damage to them. And then further down the line, this is actually a fantastic swarm to introduce. Channels work on them, which allows you to, your cleric, if you have a cleric to do damage, weapons do half damage. You can then identify further tinier swarms they're immune to. You can learn swarm traits. The disease on this is not that big a deal. It goes away, and it only comes in to a day or two. I like this swarm as a first encounter for swarms. Okay, looking upon the tomb, a stone sarcophagi rests on a stone platform occupying the southern end of this room. The sarcophagi bears the likeness of a man, inlined with gemstones and trimmed with gold. 2 lacquered benches run parallel to the east and west, just north of the platform. Hieroglyphs on the walls of this chamber, stone torch holders are set in all 4 corners. The likeness is of Pantheru the Younger, a little bit older than when he was than some of the earlier likenesses of him, but not much. Maybe a few years down the line, a little bit more worn and weathered, but still reasonable, still very, very young. The hieroglyphs on the wall tell the story of Pantheru the Younger, starting with the elevation of his father, Pantheru the Elder, to nobility, and his subsequent death. Pantheru the Younger's inheritance of his father's title and land. Story boasts of their prosperity and success as land managers. Specifically, they raised wheat farms. had a great swath of land outside the city. The justness at which the family lived their life, and the care in which they treated their slaves and servants. The text calls upon the gods to smile upon Thera the Younger and bless him with a good and just life in the great beyond. Looking inside the sarcophagi as we step on forward, luckily, not trapped or there are no enemies inside, which is odd. Only there are enemies further beyond, but I guess this guy was put to rest well, not evil likely. We can learn a little bit. We find inside a mummified guardian. I do not know what that is. Is a wondrous item. Worth 3,500. Mummified house cat, dried and filled with sand, bound with linen wrappings, appears to be nothing more than a family pet buried alongside its master. However, protects and preserves the corpse on which it is interred. Possibly driving away intruders. Also creates a magical water on the sarcophagus containing it. If it's opened after placed inside, any creature with 5 or fewer hit die within 20 feet become overspread. Must run away. Okay. We have no way of knowing that would happen, so we reduced the value of it a little bit, but no big deal. Contains a mummified corpse placed in an area with multiple egress. Oh, so it tells you which direction you must flee if you are to be mummified. It also prevents it from being turned into undead with a sanctify corpse effect. Again, we're going to loot it, but we're not too worried about it. Beyond that, he has a gold funerary mask worth some money, a pendant worth some money, some stones can be pried around. The gold leaf trim is worth a little bit of money. And that is that for then. Okay, so we can go ahead and move back to the main estate. Pick a direction from which we enter. I'm going to go ahead and enter from the front door just to save myself time. For the most part, there are various ways you can do. You can consider exploration. If you are going into a location where you know there are enemies that are kind of waiting for you, entering from a side door or from like a back entrance may be useful in that you catch them by surprise. Most people are expecting to, of course, enter from the front. So entering from an area that they are not expecting can allow you to get the jump. Maybe their mages in the back, allows you to stab them with knives before their fighters in the front get at you. But in this case, anything within this location should be long since dead or just milling about randomly. So I'm not too worried about which direction I enter from because I'm not expecting anything to be ready or prepared for me in any way. So, we start with area B11. How long do we want to go for? Because I don't... If we're quick, we might be able to finish this up before the end of the stream. Area B11 is a foyer. Brightly colored columns stand in the four corners of this room. Hieroglyphs cover the walls and tiles, obscured places by piles of standards dust. But archways lead to various rooms in all many cardinal directions. The hieroglyphs on the wall proclaim the estate of House Pentheru and convey a variety of different messages, such as welcoming to guests, invocation to God to bless all who enter. Seems to be some skeletons waiting inside. These ones using some kopeshes, broken kopeshes. And most importantly, there is also a haunt. This one, however, is quite easy to see. The haunt would trigger, is again a rather trivial encounter. This haunt has a little bit more HP, but when the haunt triggers, we hear a voice in ancient Osiriani. They're inside. Protect the family. Another voice shouts, "It's too late! Save yourself!" Screams and clashes of arms fill the air. Everyone is affected by a will save. The door remains closed for a few minutes, but each round that's confusion of... Okay, so it would be 2 rounds of confusion, so this could be very, very bad. This haunt also will probably be easily to get rid of. The haunt is destroyed by burying the guards, both in here and in the exterior, one of those guards out there. Assuming we bury all the skeletons, as we very well should. Probably bury them, what about the garden? Maybe in the, right yard. Maybe down in this bottom right corner here is where we bury them. But once you bury them, the haunt is put to rest. But again, a trivial encounter will move past. Next up is the parlor, as we continue to apparently to head to the left. Door. A large staircase climbs to the second floor from this room. Sand and dust cover the floor and walls. Painted columns stand in all but one corner. Broken pieces of wood, shattered powder, and disintegrating phablets litter the room's perimeter. Quick read through there's some stuff I need to read through. Blah, 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 blah. Then survived. There is some loot in this room. As we find a ring, we go ahead and pick it up, not realizing, of course, that is going to trigger a haunt. I actually very much do like this. So we probably destroy this haunt. We do, however, get to see a little scene play out. Seems to be a ghostly scene that superimposes itself on the ruins of this room. As translucent furniture and decorations like potted palm trees and rich upholstered divans of water waver into existence. In the room, a ghostly young man claps hands over an ethereal young woman. They speak in ancient Assyriani. However, it seems to be understandable. Though we all speak ancient Assyriani at this point, everyone seems to kind of natively understand this. The young man speaks. So sorry, I can't find the ring. I brought you anywhere. I just had it. The girl speaks up. It's all right, my love. Not the right time to tell my family anyway. Man speaks again. Come with me. Araseti, come across the river where we'll be safe. One speaks again. Not yet, darling. Father says we'll be safe here. You go, and when all this is over, you can come back for me. We'll announce our engagement then. Pauses and reaches to touch the man's forehead. Feeling right? You're burning up. With this, the vision ends. The first figure fades from the view, followed by the rooms and furnishing. It will be a fortitude save. It would probably be Churchill's Cypress who picks up the ring, because, well, no, Cypress would probably be the one identifying and all that, so he'd probably pick up the ring. He does need a fortitude save, which he failed, of course. Even with the guidance he probably had access to, so he's probably affected by some mind fire. In disease, we'll worry about diseases later down the line. What does mind fire do? Good old mind fire. Some int damage. That's a nasty one. Oh no. The DC here is higher, but further saves will be fine. So come tomorrow, bad things happen to all. Most of the party at this point is now diseased. As we continue around, let's go ahead and go to the top left room, as we're apparently going clockwise around. Actually, maybe into the center room. Does the center room have anything of importance to it? It is important in some way. B15. You may have noticed before, depending on what encounters here. Inner courtyard. A tiled walkway surrounds a small earthen stand in this high atrium. A balcony to the second floor overlooks the courtyard. A square hole in the ceiling opens up to the sky. Four columns in the corner of the atrium support the roof above, the wall decorated with symbols and hieroglyphs depicting animals, celestial creatures, and the sun and moon. Goodness gracious, got the hiccups. We probably did this encounter before we did the one previous, but We do see something as we come around this corner. It can happen at any point. But we now notice in this far corner there's a woman of some sort. Let me go ahead and actually, before I give spoilers, let me look up exactly how this feature works. That one, it's this. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave that open at the top, but just don't look. Don't look, I promise. Taking a look in the room, it seems to be a woman made of sand, or loose dirt, or something. Relatively beautiful in her form, but beyond that, not much is known. He turns over to the party and says, "Ah, brings you all here. Seem to be new. I was not expecting people such as yourself to be here. Able to converse. It's been quite a long time since I've had anyone to converse with." Agamu will speak up. Yes, we're here to explore this place, figure out the goings-on. Don't want to know what happened here, and hear with anything that is disturbing the burial beyond. The sandy figure will speak up at this point. Oh, you're in luck. I'm the spirit of this house. I, well, not being an undead of any sort, you have no need to worry about this. I was employed by the former occupants, helping out in various ways. And we all go, that sounds suspicious. You're made of sand. Let's roll sense motive. Okay. Is anybody gonna roll well? Yes, Agamu rolled very well. Do you have any bonuses to bluff? You do not. You're in. Okay. You cannot fail. He will easily see through the lie there. Okay, that sounds suspicious. That's not true. Well, he's not going to say that, but he's going to think that in his mind. But he will ask away and say, "So, what do you know about the people in this house?" Ah, yes, in Theru, they were farmers during their time, eventually elevated to nobility. Uh, the younger, of course, taking over the older once his job was, or once he passed on, or eventually they succumbed to the plague that inhabited the region. A rather unfortunate affair. Yes, indeed. Again, I'm suspicious. I'd be suspicious beyond that. We already know that. That's relatively easy information to glean. Going downstairs, going up here. He's told us nothing new. Uh, one thing I do wish to ask. You know the wife's name, perchance? We know the younger and we know the older. The wife's name, do you happen to know that? Uh, oh, it's been such a long time. Centuries even. I can't seem to recall. Okay, at that point we roll initiative. Because again, more lying, more lying. It's rather unfortunate. We will, however, because we initiated combat by seeing through its deception, get some bonuses. Normally this thing has a bunch of DR bypassed by bludgeoning. However, when it is in its sand form, looking like the attractive female woman, it does not have its DR. So we attack it, it'd have to spend some time untransforming, giving us an opportunity to get the jump on it. Beyond that, any creature that is struck by its attack must succeed on a spell, and also any creature that goes in its aura must make a will save or fall asleep. There's no limit to the hit die that the creature can affect, and a creature that makes its save is immune for 24 hours. Which means if you fail your save and someone wakes you up, you then have to make your will save again. Not a trivial fight by any means, but a fairly simple one. We have to deal with some DR bludgeoning, we can deal with that. The sleep effect is annoying, but I can go ahead and show you a picture if I go ahead and... That's not the right thing. I want to take a snipping of this, but I guess I will. Once this man transforms back into his normal form, that is what he is going to look like. I keep saying he because this is called a Sandman. It's considered an outsider, so technically they're non-gendered creatures. But, eh. Well, not non-gen. They can be... Outsiders are weird. They are formed from the soul of... Usually formed by the souls of mortal creatures after they pass into the Beyond realm. Wherever they happen to go, their souls were over centuries or millennia eventually coalesce with one, or it could even multiple souls could be combined. The stronger soul, the more likely it is that you retain some semblance of what you once were. But in reality, outsiders are born with no memory of the being they were in past lives, barring the most exceptional creature. I'm talking like 15th and beyond die, or 15th and beyond level creatures are the only ones that are able to retain some semblance, even just basic information from their past life. Maybe images, names, possibly. But for the most part, once you become an outsider, you have nothing left. So we kill this thing, no big deal. Go ahead and go back up. Oh, let's get that and scroll back up because I need to re-grab the map. Okay. Grab you. This thing is also generally evil. We also probably would have been able to identify it. I believe that Cyrus has knowledge planes. He does not, so we have no idea what that thing is. But our damage would have worked on it just fine, except for our bolts. Would have been quite annoying. So, continuing, I guess, to this north section here. What have we got? We have got room number 17. Roll some more. An enormous stone table, the marble top polished and smooth, runs parallel to the west wall of this room. A much larger stone table stands to the east side of this room. Splintered piles of dust and wood lie in the corner along the walls. The only remains of chairs after untold years. Strong fetid stench pervades this room. An open sand-filled hallway lies to the south. The doorway is open to the east. Looking inside, there seems to be a number of beheaded being just basic skull things. We'll go ahead and take a look at those creatures. Beheaded. They're CR 1/3. They fly, they attack. Otherwise, they do basically nothing. They rise off the table when living creatures first enter the room, slightly hovering midair for a moment before rushing to attack. They attempt to swarm a single target, though if attacked, it turns its attention towards its attacker. They fight until destroyed. They pursue victims throughout the house, but do not leave the grounds. Again, trivial encounter, one good channel, or a couple of wallps by our long-reached ladies will be enough to take care of them. Again, we'll continue forward with something more important. Next seems to be some sort of much more or less regal dining room, possibly for servants and slaves. Be a fair guess, but doesn't seem to have much of anything of value. Next, we continue into this room here. B19. Two stone tables sit against the western side of this room, while third occupies the southeastern corner. A small square wooden butcher's block stands in the northeast corner, now almost collapsing under its own weight. An oven sits in the middle of the north wall. An a skeleton lies beneath this northwest table, surrounded by smashed crockery. A door on the east and open doorway to the south exit the room. Seems to be a kitchen of some sort, given that there is a furnace in this room. The only thing of note is the pitted and rusted dagger wedged between the skeleton's ribs. Skeleton, however, does not seem to jump up and trying to attack us immediately. Don't have to worry all too much. The only other room we have not explored... Oh, I guess we have 16, 14, and 13. We'll have to go south to find, but seems to be not much of value. So, 16, 14, 13. Back down. Into this room here. Hieroglyphs and images of fantastic beings cover the walls of this small room. Small stone shrine, dusty and thoroughly defaced, stands against the eastern wall. Taking a look around with our knowledge of religion, seems to be a chapel dedicated to Pharasma, Abadar, and Sarenrae. The ancient Assyrian hieroglyphs covering the walls offer praise to three gods and list common prayers to each. With, however, a little bit of effort, the altar can be cleansed. Of note, Abadar is in the most prominent position among the altar once we have finished cleaning off the facing. Going a little further south seems to be a privy of some sort in this room. A stone basin along the other wall with a large mirror, presumably once hung, however, is shattered with broken glass lining throughout the floor is covered by broken glass and dead scarab beetles. A headless corpse sits upright in one of the privies. A heel check dates this as approximately 3 years old. And neat. Continuing further south seems to be a bath area of some sort. A pool, bath, hard to say. Considering that there was a large pool outside, presumably this is one more for cleanliness than for activity. However, it's still a fairly expansive one at that. A large tile pool sits in the center of this chamber, surrounded by sloping tile floors. A few steps descend into the basin, which accumulated a layer of sand along the bottom. Faded murals along the wall depict scenes of life along the river. Recurring themes of running water and aquatic life running along through the artwork. The northeast corner, tarnished bronze spigot juts from the wall just above the head level. Archway leads south and north. Lead north and west, and a stone door stands at the eastern wall. Once again, leading to the exterior of the building. I will say, this is actually a fairly nice house, especially with the design for the region. Large open courtyard, some bathroom along this side, a big housing area, a big foyer. Could use a little bit more furniture, of course, and there's an excessive number of columns, I would say. But, and all the hieroglyphs along the wall seem a bit odd, but I do very much like this kind of house. I'm thinking, I don't know who is... Maybe Cyprus is thinking, yeah, I could use something like this. Agambu and Atis maybe grew up in something similar to this, coming from a noble, even falling noble house as they were. Shara being an adventurer all her life, possibly with a rather rough backstory. Might not have had this kind of luxury before, but Cyprus was like, yeah, been a nomad for all my life. Maybe when I retire, something like this. Servants and whatnot. Yeah, I could go for something like that. Okay, scrolling down as we go to the upstairs. Going to go into area B20. Go ahead and group up the party as I scroll them all down. Okay, so it comes up the stairs and reveals this large opening. We'll go ahead and take a look at the area that is big and exposed before anything else. Roll out a tiny bit. Get a bit more of the room. Okay. So B20. Ah. A balcony wraps around this 20-foot square opening in the floor, overlooking the inner courtyard below, connecting to the rooms in the second floor. Above, a square skylight in the ceiling provides natural light to the ground and ventilation for the entire building. Southeast, two small staircases ascend from the landing on a grand staircase between the floor. 6 different sets of doors lead off the balcony. As for which one we're going to go in first, I think we'll go to this top left one simply because it is the closest. Or that happens to be the most obnoxious room. It doesn't seem to be locked in any way. However, as we go ahead and open it, enter this entrances in the south and eastern. Spacious room has entrances in the southern and eastern walls. The aged remains of dressers on a large bed and a divan lie in ruins. A large husk of a hornet's nest, gray and papery devoid of life occupies one corner of the ceiling. Spaces in the southeast and northwest corners appear to be closets. Their wooden doors have all fallen off, but their hinges and heaps of discarded fabric mingle in the floor. Between closets stand a single lacquered dresser covered in dust. There's also, however, a creature inside. I can get a picture of. Go ahead and pull out this little thing. Looks like that, just a giant, weird-looking head. Which is quite odd, I will say. Let me quickly read through his knowledge about him. Ah, okay. We actually don't see anything inside. As something is invisibly in this room. Which, given that he's standing still, it is not capable of us to see. However, taking a look around the room, there seems to be a false dresser. When placed against the wall, the dresser... When fiddled with in such a way, the false dresser reveals itself and eventually opens up into a trap. The trap which we easily notice and are easily able to bypass, however. Hold on, why does it say... Apparently this lock is of a bypass hidden lock to locate, disable, blah, blah, blah. Oh, if we wanted to bypass it instead of just, disabling it. So no, we're just going to disable the trap. No need to fiddle. We're going to... I mean, we don't have the key, so we're just going to click it open. Crossbow bolt is lifted. And inside seems to be 20 small gold ingots, each bearing a seal. We can identify that with a knowledge history check or nobility check, which we are, I believe, sufficiently trained in. Cypress with knowledge history and guidance will easily get this. Identifies this as the seal of the Helishite Sultan, who governed Assyria at the time period of the Plague of Madness over 2 millennia ago. Millennia is 1,000? I think it's 1,000. 2,200 years ago. Each ingredient is worth 25 gold pieces. In addition, looking around the room, there seems to be something inside the hornet nest. Okay, so looking around, I assume that's the false dresser. I assume we're all just kind of milling about in this room. Presumably the wasp nest was, I think, in the top left corner, so you're over there, I guess. However, at this point, something seems to appear in the southern corner of the room. Seems to be another death dog. At this point, we would go into initiative. Let's go ahead and I need to find something to represent the beheaded. We'll use this bat to represent the beheaded. Add him to the turn order. Go ahead and roll initiative. Because while this is the boss, he might cause a little bit more issue for us than what might be typical. Atis is going to be 14. Agamu, 11. Cypress, he's plus 3, 13. You're plus 2, 3. And you are a div, specifically a Doru div. However, this creature is advanced, giving it additional hit points and bonuses. So it's plus 5 to its initiative. Gives it a 6 initiative. Okay, first up is Atis. I assume the div is going to be invisibly hiding over you. I'm going to go ahead and give it the old ninja thing. Or is it going to be out in the hallway? It's going to be somewhere where it can easily retreat. I'm just wondering for the purposes of catching this thing in a color spray, where it would happen to be. Because we know it does have access. Oh, let's go to Archives of Nethys. Go. It does have a minor image, so we can try and see through it. Yeah, I'll probably hide out in this corner. Again, invisibility, the way invisibility works, is self-only. This has no components, which means if you're invisible, you can easily cast invisibility again to maintain it. Lasts 6 minutes, no big deal. Invisibility only breaks if you take a hostile action. Hostile actions such as casting spells at an enemy, attacking an enemy, something along those lines. Things like minor image does require concentration. However, it is not an action that causes hostile action to an enemy. So this thing just appearing, first of all, is hella weird. So I'm going to 5-foot step and go ahead and cast my color spray once again, trying to get this thing to piss the hell off. Not knowing, of course, that it is not real. They have no reason to believe it's not real. I am entitled then to a will save to try and disbelieve the illusion. I do not. Seems to be wholly unaffected. Okay, Cypress, we know what this thing is, so we're just going to shoot it with a crossbow bolt. It doesn't matter that it hit. What matters is that you've interacted it with some way. Here's how illusions work. Illusion magic, you can make anything happen that is within the realm of possibility for that illusion. Silent image has to be silent, no smell, no temperature. It'll give you a list of senses that they can affect. For the most part, it is sight. Minor image gets sound. So, a growl of this two-headed creature, death dog thing, appears. You can interact with it as a move action, which entitles you to a new save, or any time you interact with it. For example, if you make a full attack, you get 7 attacks, you get 7 saves. If you're making a single attack, we get 1 save. If you succeed, it then begins to appear translucent. You then may tell everybody in your party, hey, that's an illusion, giving you bonuses to the will save to, +4 to the will save to see through it. However, if you don't see through it, you still interact with it as it is if it was real. So, for example, if it was a wall and you fail to see through illusion, you may not move through the wall. Stuff along the... Basically, your mind is preventing you from taking those actions, believing it to be fully real. So, Cypress, but a will save, he will probably fail. Nope, he succeeds. Guys, it's an illusion. Something here is causing that sort of issue. You'd probably say that in Osiriani. I mean, it's a less known language than Common. So, since everybody speaks it, and whatever is in here might speak Ancient Osiriani, that's probably the language she used. Okay, Gamu, knowing that thing is an illusion, is going to just have to interact with it in some way, so he's probably going to throw a rock at it or something to make his will save. Just so he does not have any issues with that in the future. He's very good at will save, so we don't have to worry about him. And then he's going to spend his move action making a perception check. Try and see if there's anything in this room. This div will need to make a stealth check, but he is already +17, +20. Yeah, there's no way. Okay, you, good sir, speak Celestial, Infernal, Abyssal, and Telepathy. So he doesn't know his illusion has been seen through, because he doesn't speak the language. But throwing a rock is a bit odd. I will state that. Do we have sense motive? I don't. So I'll roll sense motive, which is just a d20 plus your wisdom modifier. So he doesn't know that his illusion has been seen through. So he's going to make an attack Shari. Not actually attack, but it's going to make moves towards Shari. Takes this standard action to do that. Maintain it. That seems to be not working. So everybody else is eventually going to get some will saves to see through it. So at this point, most of the party should have seen through it. Something is in this room. Most of them... So now at this point, he knows something is up. Now they've all seen through the illusion. They've looked around, not found anything. So he has access to Suggestion and Charm Person. Let's start with a Suggestion. Suggestion is more powerful. Who seem to be the most affected? Who seems to be the most dangerous-looking individual? Person with the dog, or the person riding the mount, seems dangerous. The rest of them seem to be spellcasters of some sort. What's most dangerous to me? Well, my DR, I know, is bypassed by cold iron or good. Presumably, the lady with the big cold iron weapon is probably the most dangerous. Let's go ahead and make a suggestion against her. It has to be some suggestion as a spell. You must both speak the language, or in this case, have telepathy, will suffice. You then make a... It must be something that seems somewhat reasonable. So, for example, I can't say, murder your friends. That's not a reasonable suggestion. However, something like, that death dog is very, very dangerous. Why don't you go over, hide in the corner until it goes away? That might be a reasonable suggestion. Or how about, why don't you spend a few minutes hiding over in the corner and hope it will go away? That seems to be a better suggestion that will both last a while as well. Suggestion lasts an hour per level, so it is a common offensive spell to say, this combat is difficult, why don't you go cower in the corner until things sort themselves out? It doesn't have to be the most reasonable suggestion, it just has to sound like a thing that a commoner might think is reasonable. So stabbing your friends is not, but hiding from monsters is, or running away is, or casting certain magics might be. Regardless, that is an offensive spell, so it will break my stealth. But sure, I will need to make a will save, which he is not particularly great at. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to fences. Will save, roll high. No, you did not. Okay, so Shari is going to direct this will last one round beyond, I think it lasts one round. Let's check minor image. Minor image. We don't need to perfectly go. Concentration plus 2 rounds, so yes. So come up here, hide in the corner here, and just wait for that thing to, wait a few minutes and hope that thing disappears. So, Atis will look at that thing and go, I have no idea what that thing is. But it looks living. So let's go ahead and ask Cyrus what it is. Let's have Cypress go first. Cypress, what is that? Looks like an outsider. It's a floating head. Who knows? Okay. So Cypress, now that he's no longer out of delay, is going to go ahead and throw a bomb at that thing. Thing looks dangerous. It looks important. Bomb. So a touch AC of 15, which means I will touch you, assuming I caught within range, which is no big deal. Probably come over here in this corner. 7 points of damage. It is force damage, which means it is fully effective. You have an 18 AC with 16 hit points. Ow. That hurt a lot. Atis is going to act, and is going to use her last magic of the day to go ahead and color spray. And so this thing, hoping, of course, that it is living and susceptible to this, I do need to make an SR check. Atis is rolling with a +2. Rolled 7, so the magic is wholly ineffective. Huh. That's annoying. Let's go ahead and hide back in this corner then. Agamu. Okay, that didn't seem to work. Shari is doing something weird now. I don't have protection from energy, so what I need to do... I don't know why she's hiding in the corner. What I'm going to do is give her a big cuddle, grab her cloak, and kind of go slap, 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 slap. No damage anyway, but enough to kind of jar her out of whatever nonsense is going on. I think it's fear. It looks like fear. Maybe I can make it less frightful. That doesn't seem to work, so I look over at that creature and go, well, whatever. Okay, my turn. I didn't like that. That was bad. Let's not let that happen again. Let's go ahead and go invisible again. And we're going to break initiative at this point. I'm going to fly somewhere, so we have no way of knowing where exactly it is, and this creature is going to wait until other combat encounters happen before it jumps back in. And this thing will go away in a moment. And after a few minutes, Shari will come back to her normal state. So, that was annoying. We know that thing is about. We have no way of seeing through invisible things. And of note, things like throwing a bag of flour at enemies that are invisible don't... It works to some degree. If they get covered in flour, the flour will turn invisible along with them. Same with the clothes they're wearing and such as that. However, underwater, there's a big outline of where water isn't that makes it so it's much easier to see invisible things. There's special underwater invisibility that you have to deal with if you want to work with that. But in this circumstance, we can't just throw sand up in the air and see the creature. Might see where it doesn't fall and give us a little idea of the square it's in. But after a few moments, we will be able to use the scent that our creature has here to track this guy. Scent automatically identifies any creatures within 30 feet. Assuming, of course, that you know it's there. It's not just a radar like, hey, something's now within 30 feet. Hey, something's now within 30 feet. It can work like that, but you kind of have to have an idea of what it smells like. Walking into this room and this building, the whole place kind of smelled like this div. Now that we know it's there, though, we can track it. So as we're flying around, this thing is hiding out maybe in this corner down here, waiting for us to kind of do something. As we round the corner here, we go, oh, I smell it, I smell it. And it doesn't have sense motive, so we go, haha, I found you. Jumping around the corner. And now we roll initiative again. For this purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and go there. But now we all know it's right there. Let's get it. So Artis doesn't have anything she can do, so she's going to come over in this corner and shoot a crossbow bolt at them. Or actually shoot some acid at the square. 17 will theoretically touch. It is 50-50 mischance. Oh, 17, hold on. Minus... Actually go here, so that way you're not shooting through anybody. You have the nice corner to corner. Will mean... Because of how threatening works, no one is threatening anybody. So that will touch. And it rolled low, so that will miss. 50-50 mischance sucks. Cypress will do something similar. He will come down here. God, he doesn't really want to come down here. I guess he's gonna have to shoot through allies. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I guess instead of throwing it at him and splashing on Shari, he's gonna throw it at the wall so that it splashes, and the thing will be entitled to a reflex save. No SR check. No big deal there. It will make it save and take no damage. Gamu. Guidance, Shari. Okay, now that we know we can be tracked down, there's no point in trying to hide. So we're going to go ahead and cast some magic. Try and hit Shari with a Charm Person spell. I believe she is a person. Shari is in fact a person. She looks like a person, smells like a person. And failed her save against the creature. So, she is now considered friendly to this monster. And then I'm going to 5-foot step away. What that means is there's no reason you don't murder your friends. Why would you murder your friends? It can't do anything further with the Charm Person. It can't tell them to attack her allies. But Charm Person effectively allows for the next minute. It is, unless something happens, it is unlikely that that Shari is going to attack that creature. If that creature does anything hostile to Shari, however, the Charm Person will break. So, Shari will do nothing, and Artis will once again begin, we're just going to start splashing. Miss. Cypress now will throw a bomb targeting the creature itself. And miss horribly. We do, however, need a 1d8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll splash there. The creature is entitled to a reflex save. It will possibly... It looks like it'll make. It will make. Taking no damage. Agamu is just going to shoot a crossbow bolt at it. I don't know. We don't yet know this thing has DR. That will hit, and it will chink off uselessly. Well, that fails that, so I guess we're switching over to our cold iron bolts. Now then, I don't have any other tactics other than just do what I can. Okay, does this room in the bottom right have any creatures in it? What room number is that? That is listed room number. Okay, we go, I think it's bottom to top. 1, 2, Okay, 23. Does room 23 have anything inside it? If so, I'm opening that door and running inside. Nope, got nothing inside. Annoying. Okay. I don't want to run past you all. Well, actually, you all have ranged weapons out. So, I'm going to start with a spell. What spell am I going to cast? I got Charm Person 3 times per day. I guess we're going to charm someone else. Who seems the most dangerous? Cypress seems the most dangerous. He's throwing bombs at me. You save, however. Not overcome by that. I will then go ahead and move. What is my fly speed? My fly speed is 40. Going to fly around the corner to here. Sorry, still seems like this is going on. She's basically telling everybody at this point, "Hey, stop! Come on, no need to hurt each other. What's going on here? Guy seems like a decent enough fellow. Saved us from the big dog over there. And what's causing issues? Dog seemed to run away once he appeared. Probably just kind of get out of the way as this combat's going to be moving over to here. Okay, Atis. Again, gotta throw some acid. That'll hit and do some damage. Okay, Cypress. Got more bombs available. Not a whole lot more bombs. I think he's got one more left after this. Went 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, he probably doesn't have any bombs. Well, we'll give him one more. We'll give him one more bomb remaining. There we go. Unfortunately, not confirmed, but it will be enough to bring this thing down. Okay, brilliant. Thumbs up all around. A very, very annoying creature. Looking around the rest of these rooms now, we can go ahead and go top to bottom. So we go 21, we'll start with. Dust blankets this room. The walls, once painted to depict life and ancient Wati, are now faded. Smell the room. Alcove takes up the northeast section of this room. It was once closed off by a wooden door that has since rotted away, leaving only hinges in the doorframe. Strong, cloying odor of decay permeates this room. Blah, 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 blah. The window out to observe the scenes depicting the arrival of a Khalasite sultanate, or sultana, in Wati by a royal barge. Possibly a party where a young woman is being anointed and crowned by people. Another where 3 young women swim the river with armed guards. There was a creature that rests within this room. It is a very dangerous, well, I say very dangerous. Barguli. Go to old Aowen. Rather nasty looking bat-like creature. It has a kiss, a poison, and a shriek. It's probably going to start with its shriek, opening its mouth, a fortitude save, or be paralyzed for a period of time. Very annoying. Most of the party probably saved from that. Maybe one person failed. Anybody that is helpless, such as those currently paralyzed, can successfully kiss, must make a fort save, or begin to turn to a creature. Sunlight, of course, stops it. You have to cast Remove Disease to stop it fully. Again, not the end of the world. A nasty little creature, but again, some disease removal, which we're probably going to have to go cast anyway, will help take care of this. Next up, looking around the room, seems to have a small rusted dagger, a handful of marbles, small lacquered wood box. The box is apparently a ancient board game of some value. Going to the next room. Oh, no, hold on. That was in that room. Oh, there's another one. There's one in both rooms. Ew. That's nasty. So we fight both of them probably at the same time as one joins the other once combat has started. So assuming they roll well in their initiative with +1, it could happen. And it'll get instantly murked by Old Shari and Big Green. Be quite nasty. B22, which is this next one. Most of the contents in this room have fallen apart or otherwise been reduced to dust from the dry desert air. Foul cloying smell fills the air. That's the room that has the box inside it. The room to the north, of course. Right amidst the ruins is a dark wood box. worth 100 gold pieces. Inside is a white silk Siriani wedding robe that is extremely fragile. Any attempt to remove the robe from the chest will ruin it. However, some mending, given time, will completely restore it, meaning a value of 150 gold pieces. It also carries some cheap jewelry, pearls, 5 applications of Coal of Uncanny Discernment. I do not know what that does. Coal of Uncanny Discernment. And we'll go AON. Look at it properly. When it applies to the eye, you get low light vision and perception check. Where it has low light vision, it doubles the distance. Gives you bonuses. The effects last 1 hour. Contains 5 applications, so we get a full dose of this, which, I mean, we're just immediately going to turn around for 750 gold pieces and turn that in. But no big deal there. Finally, going down to area B23, seems to be a large lacquered desk, now in poor condition, sits in the center of this room. Bookcases standing along the eastern and southern walls, backing as if ready to collapse at any moment. Their shelves have fallen out, dust piled at the bases, are all that remains of the books and scrolls that failed to survive the long years. Lacquered wooden frames of what once might have been divans stretch along the north and south walls, with their upholstery disintegrated. The door on the western wall is the only exit. Sort of study and office area, perchance. Looking around the room, nothing of value. With our perception, we are able to notice a brass key. Seems to fit the chest that we had found before. Much else seems to be inside. Next, we go into the guest room, area B24. Walls of this room are decorated with scenic vistas of a river running through a desert, resplendent with a verdant life and greenery near the shores. Only a few pieces of lacquered furniture remain in this chamber. A faint, musty odor of decomposing wood and fabric lingers in the air. A double door stand on the western wall. There is a body of a human man back in the small alcove to the east. This body, however, seems to be only a year old. We will note that the head is missing. The head seems to have been pulled off rather than cleanly decapitated. There also seems to be clumps of hair beneath the shoulders. Knowledge plane checks allows us to identify absolutely nothing about this, because we don't have knowledge planes. The body carries no valuables except for a simple gold wedding band, and Osirian reads to Akar from Pahet, Love Eternal. And we can return the writing for some additional money. The one thing that is likely to cause this issue is a cursed dead man's headband. But what exactly does that do? That is a cursed object of some sort. Dead man's headband. Okay. Has a black skull attached to it. Gains a +2 confidence bonus to intimidate checks. Increases the DC of any fear effect by +1. If it is attached to the outside of the hat, the wearer's hat or headgear cannot be blown off or removed by the wind or water. Gains a +5 circumstance bonus to CMB checks to steal or sunder, targeting this headband. Attached to level 1, which means with our spellcraft and our take 10 and our bonuses here, would we have identified this thing successfully as a cursed object? Answer is probably not. +9 with guidance, +10, we need a 31, which means we will fail to identify this as a cursed object, so we need a 31 to identify it as cursed. It means we wouldn't use it, we're going to be selling it. I feel bad for the buyer. That's the problem a lot of times with cursed objects. Unless the cursed object is a very nice object that the party is going to use, if they fail to identify it as a or if they fail to sell it, then, or if they fail to identify it, they're just going to sell it, and whoever buys it is going to be the one that has to put up with the curse. The party, of course, will be none the wiser. They may have to, roleplay-wise, they may have to deal with that later, but all this does is if they die while wearing the headband, the head is animated as a beheaded in the following round. Makes raising from the dead a little bit harder, but otherwise a rather trivial affair. Now then, party is all going to group together, and we're going to have to get some remove diseases. Now then, buying spellcasting. First off, how does remove disease work? Remove Disease is a 3rd level spell that when you cast it, you get to... It cures disease with the suffering from cast level 1 plus cast level against the DC of each disease affecting the target. Success means they're cured. Buying a spell is 10 plus or times caster level times spell mod. So level 5 for a 3rd level cleric to cast this. So 3 times 5 times 10. So 150 gold per casting. The one thing I will note is I feel really... When I buy castings of Remove Disease, I want them... First off, you know if you successfully have removed the disease or not. And of course, it does not prevent reinfection, we know that. But it feels dumb that when you pay someone to cast Remove Disease on you, they just cast it, and if they fail, they fail. I feel like when you pay for Remove Disease, it should remove the disease. If you buy a potion, don't get me wrong. You drink it, it happens, the whatever, no big deal. But if you're spending 150 gold pieces, that's a ridiculous sum of money to spend for an average person. So you should be able to have the disease removed. In this case, we're going to have to spend about 450 gold, or, more likely, we're just going to have to wait out the diseases while having people care for each other. The question is... Okay, we do have some downtime between this and the next adventure, so we will be able to cure ourselves of our diseases. I'm assuming we'll eventually make the saves. All the DCs are 13 or less. So it's a +2 bonus we'll get from long-term care, plus our initial fort saves. Given a few days of time, we might have to take another week off, but given enough time, we should easily be able to overcome the various diseases we've all been afflicted with. But buying some anti-plagues going forward is definitely something that we should have on the agenda. Anti-plagues give you a bonus to your saves against diseases. They last an hour. Very good magical item. Of course, we will also... Do we level up? Not quite yet. We have a little bit more to go before we level up. However, we've finished exploring this location. So you go back to town, you sell off your gear. I'm probably going to go ahead and think about some purchases we'll make. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to follow links down below if you want to see some of my content, and I will see you all next time.